Hey, Jill, it's so nice to see you. Cool. So I just want to go ahead and just run through some quick introductions. Edie, Jill, you can hear me just fine? Fantastic. So my name is Wesley Balmer. I'm Vice President of Commercial Operations here at Talos Robotics. I'm here with a couple of team members. Edie, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And then we have our special guest, Jill Kantor. I'm just going to go ahead and run you through a quick introduction of Jill. I've had the pleasure of working with you for a couple of months now, and I just want to run you through what I found on your LinkedIn and what I know about you. So you've been in the hospitality industry for 2 decades and some change. Today you serve as a general manager and the area managing director at Highgate, overseeing multiple properties, including the Even Hotel Cobb Galleria. You've driven major operational excellence across many major brands, and I'm so excited to have you here to share your experience on maximizing productivity with us today. Jill, is there anything you wanted to say to the audience?
Wes mentioned, my name is Jill Kantor. I have been in the industry for just about 25 years, quite a bit with full service with Marriott, celebrating 2 years with Highgate as general manager and area managing director. Great background with events and restaurants, and moving on to the general manager side, learning quite a few new things.
And thank you so much for spending the time with us today. I'm really excited to speak with you, learn about how you've been able to drive organizational change and organizational improvements. I'm joined here with my team member, Edie, as well. We're going to ask you a bunch of questions. You know, the way that we met, Jill, is through the product Rosie, but today's not all about Rosie. Today's a lot about what you've been able to accomplish and the tips and tricks that you've incorporated into your career so that you could be successful. But I do just want to spend a couple seconds going through that testimonial content that we captured together. And I'm going to share that live on air for everyone to kind of watch through. So this is going to take a few minutes, but please just go ahead and take a quick watch.
AI definitely improves efficiencies. Highgate, we champion a culture of innovation. We are putting it into our financials, our operations, our revenue management.
If we don't embrace this, we're going to miss the boat.
My name's Amanda Michael, and I've been in the hospitality industry for over 20 years. I work for Highgate Hotels.
My name is Lori Thomas, and I have been a GM with the Marriott brands for over 30 years.
I'm Tommy. I'm the area director manager in the Atlanta market. I am the general manager at the Residence Inn in Peachtree Corners.
My name is Jill Kantor. I'm the general manager here at the Even Hotel Cobb Galleria.
My name is Daniel Otero. I'm a GM here at the La Quinta Inn Atlanta Perimeter Medical Center. I work for a company called Highgate, and Rosie has been introduced to us just a few months ago.
Rosie is used at our hotel every day.
We currently use Rosie on our guest floor hallways. We've got really long corridors.
I can tell you we use her in all of our hallways. I have 7 floors, and she does about 2 to 3 floors a day for me, but now I got a second Rosie, so we can do all 7 floors in one day.
She's probably one of the hardest working associates that I have.
We use it daily. We have 2 buildings, so we have 2 Rosies. We have one in one building and one in the other, and our staff moves it from one floor to the other throughout the day.
So problems that technology can help us solve across the property are solving problems before the guests leave, trying to adjust to their stay, make them feel comfortable, get them to feel welcome here, and have them leave feeling happy and satisfied and wanting to come back.
With technology, there's a lot more accuracy, and it saves also on payroll.
First impact, I think just overall, we have a better feel of the fact the task is getting done. Oftentimes we ask the room attendants to vacuum the hallways, and we think it's done, but it's always done in the best way. So this assures that it's being done consistently, and it frees up the room attendants to do some other things and housepeople to do some other things as well throughout the day.
It gives us more time to have a conversation in the hallway with the guests. We don't have to turn off the vacuum cleaner to answer their question because Rosie doesn't make a lot of noise. So she's doing her thing and we can do ours, and that's be with our guests.
She's been a great addition to our team. She doesn't talk back. She's great because, you can put her down, let her do her thing, come back and check on her. She's helped with taking some load off our housekeepers and our housemen, especially in the hallways and the corridors and our meeting space.
I've seen improvement with the minutes per room at the hotel. We are usually utilizing the housemen more to help the housekeepers strip rooms. They're bringing supplies to them. They're able to make those trips instead of standing with a vacuum cleaner and doing haul after haul.
So it's all about time management with Rosie.
One of our I don't want to say a naysayer, but somebody was like, I don't really think that's going to work. After 3 days, she's like, Lori, the hallways have never looked this good.
So areas that we've seen a tangible difference from having Rosie definitely would be our guest love scores. So we traditionally have very high scores in the 90s here at this hotel. For the month of August that we're currently in, we're sitting at about a 97%, which is one of the highest scores we've had all year. So we're super excited to see those numbers. We are sitting about 92.5 year to date. So it's been great to just have that additional person helping us here.
Guest satisfaction scores, I think that, the fact that these areas are consistently getting done will give the guest a better confidence that we're looking out for cleanliness issues around the hotel and keeping things the way they should be.
The results that we've seen with Rosie pretty much cover all the gamuts: GSS, overtime, labor, easy numbers from August of this year versus last year. In our cleanliness scores, we were over 25% increase for cleanliness. Before we had Rosie, I probably got 2 to 3 comments a month in the realm of, I saw the same piece of dirt. And I mean, people are looking at those things. From a labor standpoint, we really are keeping our overtime to a bare minimum. And it's because they are able to get all of their jobs done.
So what have we heard from guests about Rosie? We've had a lot of inquiries, people walking down the hall saying, what's that? That's so cool. And just explaining she's our newest staff member. She's our special automated robot.
The comments from our guests about Rosie is, it's a joy to kind of see it. They're like, what is this? It kind of reminds them of home and the ones they use, that we have at our own houses. I think it's just another element of the technology that's coming and how it's impacting every part of our lives.
I have had comments from our guests and saying how cool Rosie is and how much does she cost, because they were interested in purchasing one.
I had probably a 20-minute conversation with the guests as we watched Rosie work. I was like, this is great. I said, she's doing what she's doing. She's not trying to get into our conversation. She's still getting the carpet clean. It's been a lot of fun. The customers really like seeing her in the hallway.
Starting with Rosie was really easy. So there was an introduction meeting that you guys gave. I was not part of it. My assistant was, and she said it was extremely easy. The maintenance care for the robot is easy as well. We have a checklist that we go by, and putting her on the floor and hitting start, that's all you have to do.
Rosie's very self-explanatory. She pretty much tells you what to do, and it's easy for anyone to understand, whether you speak English or Spanish or any other language.
The process with Rosie was probably one of the most easiest rollouts of anything that I've had to do. And I've been with Marriott with food and beverage, and we have new programs, and it was, you had to learn it, you had to implement it, then you had to keep following up on it. And this one was, all we had to do was make sure the batteries were charged. Batteries are charged, Rosie's rolling.
The experience working with Talos has been great. We have weekly check-in calls, actually bi-weekly now. So if there's questions, you can always send an email or give us a shout out or a text or a call, and they'll get right back to you and answer anything that you have.
Oh, it's been great. The communication is wonderful. I think their communication, I haven't kept up as much as they. I always have something in my inbox, and they're flexible with my schedule as well.
They're always very responsive, especially Morgan. Whenever there's an issue, I get a call from her within a minute.
Great. I mean, the support is great. The team that you guys have really helps us as operation leaders to be able to jump right in and start using it. So it's been a pleasure.
Working with Talos, oh my gosh, it's probably been one of the easiest relationships we have. We started out with calls weekly, and it was just like being on a call with friends.
Cool. I mean, that video is just phenomenal, and thank you so much for your participation there. Some cool things that you had said was that Rosie has taken a load off the housekeeping team, that in August you hit some of the highest guest love scores that you've seen all year. And that, guests thinks that guests think the robots are cool. Technology is nothing new in terms of hospitality. Technology has been breaking into hospitality for hundreds of years, or not hundreds, but more than 100 years. The elevator is a piece of technology that is so ubiquitous today, so commonly accepted. Thinking this through, what we had before was stairs, and now we use this common piece of technology every single day to bring us from floor to floor. The laundry machine is another piece of technology that is so ubiquitous, so commonly used. Nobody is screaming to go grab their washboard and their wash bucket anymore. Today we have the laundry machine that helps us automate this task. And even thinking back, what did we do before we had reservation systems? We had paper reservation cards that we tacked onto the walls to make sure that we could track guests and their reservations with the hotels. So this is a great way to kind of introduce, some of the technology and some of the improvements that you've seen, Jill, and let you open up and start talking about that. So just out of curiosity, how has hospitality evolved since you began your career?
Oh, quite a bit. I mean, as you said, technology is the main thing. Computers, cell phones, radios, any kind of system that you work with. Back in the day, I hate saying that. They weren't there. So something like this robot that's just push the button and go, and off it does its thing, and you can run off and take care of 10 other things off your list. So I think that's definite huge change.
Well, that's an interesting one too. Even the radio is a huge piece of technology that is so widely accepted today. When did you start seeing that inside of hospitality?
Gosh, I can't even remember. I can just remember the different evolutions of, back when we had a BlackBerry, and then, everybody's excited you could do a little bit of email on your phone, and you had the flip phones, and you had the Nextels, and, now everybody has some kind of, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, radios aren't as much. We have, one called Relay, with the housekeeping and engineering team uses, which is great. It has panic buttons. You can do pretty much anything on it. But you just don't see as much with the radios anymore, I think.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I've traveled the world deploying Rosie in many different countries, and I feel like WhatsApp has become really common.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's interesting how that continuously evolves, right?
Yeah.
One thing I'd love to ask you, what are the challenges improving operations, improving productivity, while balancing that really important aspect of enhancing guest experience? Those are two things that are constantly intertwined, right?
Right. Obviously, labor costs, overtime, expenses, those are typically your biggest issues and factors that prohibit you from moving forward and getting forward in what you need.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Edie.
Let me to unmute myself first. I would agree. Labor's the biggest expense on the P&L for any hotel. And that's the one thing that I think owners are constantly hammering their management companies and their general managers about. You've got to control labor. And Rosie's just a great solution for managing just one position or one department.
Yeah. I'd love to know, from your perspective, you've overseen teams through many initiatives. You've implemented new technology. You've implemented different solutions across many different roles. How do you successfully drive that change? Like, what are the things that are required, and how do you do that?
I think full acceptance and being the cheerleader and being excited about it. If you have apprehensions or you're like, oh, I don't know if that's a great idea, that's going to carry out when you're trying to implement it with your team and other teams. So just being fully on board and being supportive and rallying around it, being the biggest cheerleader, I think that's the biggest key to success.
Yeah. Have you seen other technologies not be fully adopted by teams? Have you seen that happen before?
Yeah, I think so. Coming from Marriott, there was always some new initiative, and everybody just hates change. So I think it's just overcoming the change and trying to show how it's going to be successful, what you can gain and what you can achieve from it in a positive way, where people are like, oh, great, another new initiative, another new thing. It's trying to take that factor out of it and just driving the enthusiasm.
Yeah. Something that's really important that I know that is very true, and you already touched on this, having buy-in on from the entire team for the success. But something that I know that's very true about your property, how does having a really strong champion? I know that you have a team member that largely has been responsible for implementing Rosie. How important is having a champion, and who is your champion?
It's super important. Our champion is our chief engineer. He's really excited about it. He likes to be involved and to help, create that enthusiasm as well and get out there with the team and work with them. If you don't have someone that wants to take ownership, it's just not going to be implemented to its full success. It's not going to take off like it should. It's not going to involve all the different team members. It's not just housekeeping. Our engineers work with it all the time. They put it out in the hallways for us. They'll check on it, pick it up, a lot of the maintenance. So it's a whole team thing. Front desk, they explain it to guests. They'll come tell us it's on a floor where we need to go pick it up, different things like that.
And Edie, I know that from your kind of career, you've seen a really wide gamut of implementations, right? Is there anything you want to add about having champions?
I think it's so important they have champions that can explain to your team that this product or this new initiative is not going to take hours or time away from you, but it's going to help you do your job better. And I think Jill and her team have done an excellent job of expressing that.
Yeah. And remind me of your champion's name again. I forget.
D'Anthony.
D'Anthony. D'Anthony's phenomenal. He's been a really, really important part of the project, an important part of the success that we've seen at your location. So make sure you tell him thank you from everyone at the Taylor's team. Yeah. I just want to kind of run through some questions, but before we jump into the Rosie questions, I'm just going to remind everybody what the Rosie product is, our AI-powered robot vacuum, and I'm going to play this quick video.
This is Rosie. This is where it goes. Okay, or there, or there. This is the future of cleanliness and labor optimization. Up to 10 minutes saved in each room, 30 minutes saved on every floor, an hour saved in large spaces. What else can you do with all that extra time? This is saying goodbye to the constant battle of keeping your property clean. This is Rosie, the AI-powered commercial vacuum designed to improve productivity. By Talos.
The improvements that we've seen at your property are pretty tremendous. You've seen increasing guest love scores. I know that we've been measuring some other variables as well, and you had mentioned, having public area attendance, helping room attendance more frequently is helping strip rooms faster, helping complete other tasks. What other types of improvements are you seeing across the board?
Just cleanliness is the main thing. Forever when I'm checking rooms, bending down and picking something up off the floor in the hallway, I don't really see that anymore. So it's great when I'm walking down, I'm like, oh, my floors look so clean. So that's just probably the biggest thing for us.
Every property that I visited and every general manager who I've walked the hotel hallway with, there's this thing that happens when you're walking a hallway and you're a general manager. You're constantly looking at the floor to see anything that you might find so you can pick it up and put it in your pocket. Mm-hmm. And I'm really happy that Rosie has kind of helped to relieve that concern.
My pockets are emptier these days.
Well, and I'm sure that the laundry machine at home is a little bit happier too, right?
Exactly.
What types of tips and tricks would you give to properties, your sister properties, your neighboring properties, when they start using something like Rosie?
Just making sure that, everybody knows what it is. So we had our guests calling down to the front desk, freaked out, like there's something moving in the hallways. They were really unsure what it was. I'm like, oh, that's Rosie. It's okay. Just, making sure that not just housekeeping knows what it is, that your entire hotel is aware of what Rosie is, where the docking stations are, making sure your batteries are always plugged in, making sure it's set up on your phone to get the notifications. Especially if, there's an issue, it'll say Rosie has something stuck on her wheel or whatever it might be. I think those are some definite important tips.
Cool. And I'm just going to remind everybody too, this is a live stream, and you're able to chat with us in the YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook chat box below, and we can answer those questions on air. There's been a couple of people who've stepped in. Andrew, thank you so much for pointing out my microphone was a little bit low. I appreciate it, and I turned that back up. And then Bougie, I just want to say hi, Bougie. It's so nice to have you on the call today. And I'll jump back into some more of these questions. What advice? So something that's really interesting, sometimes we have customers like airport hotels that are extremely busy. Their average length of stay is 0.7 days and their occupancy is 95%. I mean, that's a really significant operation. That's a lot of housekeeping work. What advice would you give to a very busy hotel that, to use Rosie more often?
Make sure Rosie's charged and ready to go, because that's a huge thing. It's got a great lifespan. It'll tell you when the battery's done. So I think that's the biggest key. If your batteries aren't charged and ready to go to plug in, you're not going to be able to use Rosie. Just understanding your high traffic areas where it's going to be most beneficial to put her, maybe like the best times that you want to run it. It's sometimes you should have your flag on there, just making sure that everybody can see Rosie. But I think those would be the biggest things I could recommend.
Yeah, I'm going to hand it off to Edie.
And Jill, just to expand upon that a little bit, can you compare the noise level on Rosie to an upright vacuum and
Yes.
the work and the difference in the suction power? Just expand upon that.
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, you can have an entire conversation standing over Rosie and you're going to hear each other. Whereas, if you've got a regular vacuum, you got to stop, you got to turn it off, you got to unplug it. And with that, Rosie's pretty quiet. I mean, she makes a little noise, but she's definitely quieter than your average vacuum. It's definitely more high powered than just a vacuum that you're going to sweep up and down. It's great because it learns the path for you. So it knows where it's going. It knows where to turn. It knows where to not go. I think those are some of the really great pieces to it, especially if you're in a hallway and you've got doors, you can put cones out so you can direct and train Rosie, which is very trainable.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and just share this comment that just came in. LinkedIn user is saying that the trickle down effect on GSS is real. It doesn't just positively affect housekeeping. And that's something that's so interesting, right? Is that the more that Rosie is used, the more time that it saves the entire team. And therefore, it just has this trickle down effect to every other aspect of operations. I have another question I'm just going to go ahead and ask. Oh, this is who is your Rosie champion and why is that important? There we go. So just a reminder, thank you so much on LinkedIn for asking that question. Please, please, please ask your questions away and we'll answer them live on air. There's some challenges that have been affecting hospitality operations. We've seen some data coming through that suggests that, turnover can be really high, and I'll jump into that in a second. But from your perspective, what types of challenges does hospitality in general face today?
I mean, staffing is the biggest one. Anywhere and everywhere you go, every city, everybody I talk to, fellow general managers in different parts of the country, staffing is hard. It's hard to find someone and then making sure you train them properly and keep them, whatever you can to incent them and train them properly, get them set up, welcome them. Those are the biggest things. Just occupancy levels. That's another huge thing. And ensuring your hotel stands out to be the one that people want to book at and creating that loyalty and repeat customers. I think for most people, they would pretty much say that's the biggest problem right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
there's no.
go ahead.
Wes, there's an old adage in the industry that we say you can't sell a dirty room.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's important that we're freeing up those house persons and those lobby attendants to help strip those rooms so we can turn rooms and check guests in faster.
Yeah.
So there's a slide that I actually found to be really interesting. Edie, will you speak on this?
Yes, this is from a company I used to work for called Actable, and this is addressing what's called quick turnover and what positions turn over in the first 90 days. And in the housekeeping position, the room attendant in particular turns over more than any other position. And my eyes are terrible, Wes, but I'm just going to say that the turnover is about 110, 124% in the room attendant position.
Yeah, and that's the another slide. But in the first 90 days, it's more than 50% of room attendants in the first 90 days are leaving to find another role. And that kind of brings me to that next question. Like, what are you doing to protect your property from some of these challenges?
Obviously making sure that people are properly trained, making sure you have proper supplies. Supply and demand is hard nowadays too. Making sure you have proper inventories and you're on top of ordering so that, you're not out of toilet paper, you're not out of Kleenex, you're not out of cleaning products. Everything's properly labeled for your chemicals and things like that, where people feel safe and comfortable working. Truly, those are the biggest factors.
Yeah. I'm curious to know with the challenges, the labor challenges that you're having and just in general that hospitality is facing, where do you see, have you seen improvements since COVID?
Since COVID, no.
No.
I think COVID made it a little bit harder. People don't want to work. People have the time off during COVID and realize this isn't the industry for them. So, it's incentivizing and revitalizing this career in this industry.
Yeah. And I think that's really interesting, right? That in robotics, in this technology space in general, there's this really common concern that, we're looking to replace human beings. But the simple fact is today that you don't have enough staff as it is, right? And Rosie is not just helping support your team, it's adding resilience to your staff so that if somebody does call out sick, if somebody does leave for another role, there's a little bit of extra support that's reliable that helps you get the job done and doesn't add stress to the rest of the team. Because without Rosie, if somebody calls out sick, there's just as much work to do.
Yeah.
It just gets distributed across fewer people.
She is not replacing anyone.
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious, you had touched on this a little bit, but from how much time is it taking you and how much time is it taking your team in general to hire, train, and onboard new staff?
I mean, the whole process of hiring, training, onboarding, it could take over a month. By the time, you go through the interview process and you get them hired and you get them on board and you get uniforms and they do the mandatory training before they can get on the floor. All of that. I mean, you just want to make sure you set them off for success. So it's not a 2-day process.
Yep. We've actually reached the end of my questions, and this is a good opportunity, Jill. I'd love for you to just open up a little bit and talk to us about maybe some other operational initiatives that you're working on, or what do you have in the future?
I mean, obviously, working for a brand, we go through all of the brand initiatives. The Even Hotel where I'm at is an IHG branded property. So we started our new initiative recently, which is what we call our one-person program. So it's our new dinner bite program. So another interesting labor food cost. Our bartender is obviously our bartender. We've eliminated our dinner menu down to a 5-item bar bite menu. So they do the cooking for that and the bartending. So it saves on a PM kitchen person. It saves on a huge amount of food cost and waste for items that weren't being sold and weren't being consumed. And it's just a great new way to showcase what we can do here. And it's been pretty successful. So we're excited about it.
And I bet that those handful of menu items probably are tastier and more popular.
Yeah, you've got your base, you've got wings, we've got a great, and this brand is the wellness brand. So we've got some great guacamole and chips, and we've got truffle fries, we've got shishito peppers, which is something you don't see everywhere. So it's a great little appetizer. We've got sliders, we've got wings, we've got some great new local branded ready-made drinks. These canned drinks, they're really, really good. So it's just been great to work locally and just try to change and do something different.
Support local. We are Talos is an Austin-based business, just for everyone that's watching. But in any case, I do want to just remind everybody that this is a live show, and you're welcome to just jump into the chat and ask your questions, and we'd be happy to answer them live on air. We're coming up towards the end of our discussion, and Edie, I just wanted to hand it off to you.
Thanks, Wes. I appreciate Jill. And, you mentioned, Jill, that you work for the IHG brand, but you also work for a management company who works for an owner.
Oh, yes.
And so there are so many layers to the hospitality industry. I think some of our audience who may not be as much in the industry don't understand that as a general manager, when you get into a brand, you normally stay with that brand because you're so familiar with their tools, because each brand uses a different PMS or a different, system. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was with Marriott for almost 23 years, with full service hotels. Moving into Highgate, this is my first time in select service. So completely different worlds, completely different styles, understanding not as many layers. So I've always been hands-on. I come mainly from the restaurant event side. So I'm used to running around, being on my feet, jumping in wherever. So it's just learning the other side for more of the room side and housekeeping. I'm doing the purchasing for all the food and maintaining the entire financials and P&L, which has been an amazing learning process. Highgate is typically manages their properties. I actually have an owner, as Edie mentioned. So working with an ownership, being on daily, weekly calls with my owners, being able to speak to everything. The knowledge I've gained it's been amazing.
And Jill, your career has grown from, many different roles within hospitality. What does the future hold for Jill Kantor?
I don't know. The newest has been my area managing director. So that's been a great stepping stone for me to not only just managing my hotel, but now having 3 other hotels that report directly to me and being instrumental in their success as well.
Well, I will say, we are at the cusp of, robotic tools entering into hospitality. There's a lot of different products in the market. I am biased. I like Rosie, but you're at the cusp of technology entering into hospitality, robotics entering into hospitality, and the operational efficiencies, the operational improvements that drives is going to be a huge asset that you've really gained knowledge in that you can share with others. So I'm going to go ahead and just go and end it there. We didn't get any new questions in from the audience. Jill, that was phenomenal. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your constant support. Edie.
Thanks, Jill, for doing this. I know you've got a busy schedule, and we're going into the check-in time of the evening at your hotel, so you got to get ready.
Oh, thank you so much for having me today.
And thank your team from all of us. And I can't wait to talk to you soon. Have a wonderful afternoon and take care.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.